So, the new Fable game hasn't even released yet, and it's already swamped in controversy. Between debates about the protagonist's appearance and accusations that they were designed to intentionally look unattractive, and now all these recent layoffs in AEST Montreal just a couple of days ago, a lot of people are starting to worry about what's actually happening behind the scenes. And honestly, I get it. But before we write this game off, I think it's worth remembering what Fable has always been about and why so many of us fell in love with it in the first place. Because for me, Fable wasn't just another RPG, it was the game that I grew up with. So let's start by addressing the elephants in the room. Ever since the first trailer dropped back in 2023, a big chunk of the internet has been focused on the protagonist, especially her appearance. And some people feel that the character was deliberately designed to look less traditionally attractive. And others think that that reaction was completely overblown. Then, recently, news broke out about these layoffs in AEST Montreal, a studio that's reportedly been supporting the development of the new Fable game. Now, whenever layoffs happen in the game industry, it's quite concerning. It can signal that projects are running into trouble. But it's also important to keep some perspective. Game development is messy, and while my heart goes out to those developers who were laid off, believe me it does, I've been in that position myself as an artist, if we look at the situation objectively, it's highly likely that the game coming out in a few months, the bulk of the work on Fable has already been completed, and the support studio was becoming less and less necessary to finish the production. Now, I might be completely off the mark here, but I would say that while these headlines sound scary, they don't automatically mean that the game is doomed. And this goes for the character models as well. So we've already seen that there will be character customization along with barbershops and tattoos in the game. What matters most is the vision behind the project, and that's where things get really interesting. Because Fable is personal for a lot of us. I still remember booting up the original Fable for the first time. It was the game that I grew up with, and to this day I still tell people that it's my favorite game franchise. You could be the hero, or you could just be a complete menace to society. It wasn't the first, but it was definitely one of the first games to introduce morality as a core gameplay system, encouraging other game developers to think more about player choice in a meaningful way, and the world felt alive. Interacting with the people of Albion, buying every house, getting married, watching them go about their day-to-day lives, raising everyone's rent, sacrificing your spouse, and the combat was engaging for its time, and the comedy was on point. Back then, that felt revolutionary. And honestly, even today, very few games capture the same sense of personality and whimsy that Fable made you a part of. And that's because in Fable, morality wasn't just a system, it was your identity. The choices you made didn't just change dialogue, they changed you. Your character's body, your reputation, even the way the world reacted to your presence. People would cheer you, fear you, charge you more, or refuse to deal with you altogether. It wasn't just about making decisions, it was about becoming the kind of person those decisions created. And that design philosophy is what made Fable feel so different from other RPGs. So as you all probably know, Fable is being developed by Playground Games, the same studio behind the Forza Horizon series. I've never really been one for racing games, but whatever you think about them, one thing is perfectly clear. They know how to build beautiful, living worlds. Their environments are ridiculously detailed, and their games so far have been tending to launch in a very stable state, which is more than we can say for a lot of AAA titles lately. What we've seen so far of the new Fable looks stunning, and the world looks absolutely incredible. Look at some of these locations. It's not trying to be just another homogeneous, realistic art style, or another dark gothic fantasy, because Fable has never been about gritty realism. It's about consequence, personality, and a world that reacts to who you choose to become. The tone recaptures that playful, whimsical feeling in games, something that personally, I miss with games taking themselves so seriously. And it's not just how the world looks either. The developers have spoken about the game having over 1,000 characters, each one fully voiced with their own name, profession, and even daily routine. If that system works the way it sounds, it could make the world feel genuinely alive, and add so much replayability, meeting new people that you've never spoken to before on a new playthrough. Another system that's taking a real change is the morality system. In the first 3 Fable games, you were given some genuinely tough moral choices, but at the end of the day, it still operated in a pretty black and white way. You were either the hero or the villain. From what we're hearing about the new game, it seems like they're moving towards something more nuanced, where individual people react to you based on how your actions affect them personally, as well as what you do in the wider world. That kind of system could make your reputation feel more personal, more believable, and a lot less predictable. And of course, that classic British sarcasm that we all know and love is still there, and it really just wouldn't be Fable without it. Because Fable has always been weird, it's always been goofy, it's always been a little bit ridiculous, like what happens when a fairy tale goes wrong. And that charm is what made it special. But there are still big question marks that I hope will be answered in the coming weeks and months leading up to launch. We haven't seen deep gameplay yet, and from what we have seen, the combat does look a bit floaty. This is Playground Games' first attempt at action combat, and the footage we've seen does make it seem fun, but it's important to keep that in mind. You probably also noticed I didn't talk about the story at all, and that's because we just don't know enough about it yet to be excited or concerned. Right now, it's simply a question mark. We also don't fully understand the progression systems. They have said they're keeping strength, skill, and will, which is fantastic to hear because those pillars have always been at the heart of Fable. But there are still questions around how deep those systems will go and what kind of character build diversity we'll be able to explore. They have decided to also move away from the physical progression elements. Body morphing for morality is gone, but progression-based systems like getting bigger from strength, developing will lines, or gaining weight from overeating, we just don't know anything about them, but I don't think that they're going to be part of the system. And that matters because those physical changes weren't just visual flair, they were feedback. They told you instantly who your character had become. A hulking warrior, a disciplined mage, a reckless glutton, the game reflected your behavior back at you in a way that felt tangible. Removing some of that visual progression might make the system more subtle or more realistic, but it does raise an interesting question about identity. If your choices no longer reshape your character in obvious ways, will your morality still feel as personal as it did before? We also don't yet know much about player choice and how much it will truly matter in moment-to-moment gameplay, or in those long-term ripple effects across the world. Choice has always been a huge part of Fable's identity. With Playground Games talking about over 1,000 custom-made NPCs, it does make me wonder, will these characters still be expendable in the same way that they were in the previous games? Will we still be able to commit some of the truly horrible acts, like the ones required to open the demon doors, or make sacrifices at the Temple of Scorn? At the same time, the new morality system sounds like it's aiming for something more nuanced. That kind of system could make your reputation feel more personal and more believable, but it also raises interesting questions about how the wider world perceives you. If your actions are judged locally, does news still spread from one town to another? Does your reputation follow you? Or do these different communities see you in different ways completely? Those are all things that will make or break this game. Not the character's face in one trailer, or internet arguments or industry rumors. It's the gameplay systems and player freedom. That's the heart of Fable. But here's the honest truth. I'm not blindly hyped, but I do want this game to be amazing. Because the foundation does look strong, the studio is capable, and the franchise has something that most new games don't. A legacy that's worth protecting. So yes, there's controversy, yes, there's uncertainty, but there's also a lot of potential. And if this new Fable can capture what made the originals so special, we might be looking at one of the most memorable RPGs of the generation. But there is one idea that I keep coming back to. In Fable, morality wasn't just a system, it was your identity. And that raises a bigger question. If the new game is moving towards a more subtle, nuanced morality system, what does that mean for the soul of the franchise? And that's exactly what I want to explore in my next video. Because morality in Fable isn't just about good or evil, it's about transformation, reputation, and the way the world responds to the person you become. If that sounds interesting, stick around, and if you want to relive the journey with me, come hang out on Tuesday and Thursday at 7 PM on Twitch, where I'll be playing through the first 3 games in the lead up to launch day. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe if you want weekly Fable content to keep the dream alive, and until next time, peace.